Okay, this series of videos is going to walk you through setting up your account and structuring it in the right way. The account structure that you use is really important because ultimately what we need to do is have a granular account structure where the keywords in our account closely match the ads that we create, and the way that you do that is by having a sensible account structure. The process that I'm going to follow is S26, so I suggest that you have this open. So just this video is going to just look at setting up your campaign shell. So by campaign shell I mean, setting up the overall structure of your campaign and your ad group. So you need to have done the market research and the keyword research before you do this step, because the campaign shell is going to depend on your keyword research. So assuming that you've done your keyword research, what we're going to do, if you're doing this for the first time, I would do this in the AdWords interface. If you already have campaigns set up, then it's often easier to do this in AdWords editor. So I'm going to show you both ways. So you're going to come into AdWords editor, and if this is a brand new account, then you won't have any campaigns in here. This will all be blank. And what you need to do is you need to come in and go to campaign, and in most cases you're going to be setting up a search network only campaign. Google likes to recommend that you set up a search and display select campaign. I do not recommend doing this. I recommend splitting up your campaigns completely into search only campaigns or display only campaigns. Please don't mix the two. Display network requires a different strategy, different approach, different different campaign structure. So please separate them out. It's a bit more work, but it is worthwhile. So in most cases, you're going to select search network only. And then I'm just going to come down and show you the different settings. So none of this is set in stone. What a lot of people will tell you to do is that you should always use certain settings or always turn off certain settings. Every setting in AdWords has its place under the right circumstances and at the right time. So all of these recommendations need to be taken with a pinch of salt, because what you need to do is you need to apply them to your particular situation, or if you're doing this for a client, your client's situation. First of all, you're going to need to name your campaign. Most accounts that I see name their campaigns badly. I like to use a standard campaign naming convention, so that when I'm looking at all my campaigns, either in the interface or in AdWords editor, I can see at a glance what the overall campaign settings are. The other reason to do this is it allows you to filter campaigns either in AdWords editor or in the online interface. So if I only want to see, for example, all the campaigns that are targeting desktops, as long as I've used desktops in a consistent syntax in the name of the campaign, I can set up a filter or an advanced search in AdWords editor and view only the campaigns that have desktops as part of their campaign name. So in this case, I'm going to call this archery. So the first part is always what it is. This is going to be search. I'll then normally put in a location, so in this case we'll put the UK. I don't generally recommend targeting more than one country at once. I would nearly always split up your campaigns by country if you're going to target multiple countries. If nothing else, you'll get different performance statistics from different countries, and in general you'll want to customize your ads to different countries based on local dialects, different spelling, that sort of thing. I generally still split up my campaigns between mobile and desktops. And again, the reason for this is, so what you can do is you can target mobile and desktops now from the same campaign using a bid modifier. The reason I generally separate them out is because I generally want to write different ads for mobile, and I generally like to run the mobile ads at different times of the day. Often what I'll do for some campaigns is I'll run mobile campaigns only at times when people might be able to ring up the business, for example. So they're kind of two reasons to still separate out mobiles and desktops, but you can target them from the same campaign if you want. But on the time, so in general, I start off serving ads at all days and all times. If you're not sure, stick to all days and all times, and then in a month or so, when you've got a bit of data, we'll come in and review the account, and and then we'll turn off the days of the week and the times of the day when your campaigns aren't converting. The last one is delivery. So delivery, you can choose between standard and accelerated. I'll explain what that means in a minute. And then you want to select all features. Okay, so selecting all features has caused me to lose the campaign name, which is typical. So it's archery, search, UK, desktops, all times, standard delivery. We're not running any shopping ads in this case. If you were just setting up a product listing ads campaign, then you need to go into this. Devices show and all. By default, what we do is we set a mobile bid adjustment. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You can adjust the locations. What I strongly suggest you do is come into the location options and change target to target only people in your targeted location. Otherwise, what Google will do is they'll show your ads to people that they think are viewing or searching for information about your targeted location, even if they're not actually in the UK or whatever territory you've selected. So that's a bit naughty, I think. So I nearly always select this to be people in my targeted location. Same for excluded. Languages you can adjust if you want. Again, you'll probably want to have just one language per campaign if you do target different languages. In general, you're going to manually set bids for your clicks, and you need to set a default bid. So generally what I would do is, based on your keyword research, I'd set the default bid as being about 60% of what the typical estimated bid is in the keyword tool. That's not set in stone. That's a rough guideline. I like to start lower and then raise my bids based on initial data. That's just my approach. Maybe I'm a bit conservative. Sometimes it makes sense. If you're really in a rush and you want to get the leads in, then sometimes you might want to start higher. I'm just going to put in £1 for now. And then you need to set a daily budget. So let's just set a daily budget of £10 a day. This obviously needs to be whatever you're comfortable with. The daily budget is like fuel in the tank. The more fuel you put in, the more distance you're going to get out of your account. But if you're just starting off and this is your first campaign, then you need to set a daily budget that you're comfortable spending. So again, generally start off smaller and then increase depending on initial data. Delivery method is what I was talking about before, so that was what we included in our campaign naming convention. I'll put standard in this case. If you leave it on standard, Google will try and show your ads evenly throughout the day. If you select accelerated, they'll show your ads as quickly as possible until your budget is depleted. So basically, if you've got a campaign that's in a trial phase and you're trying to find out if you can get profitable conversions in this campaign, then leave it on standard. If the campaign's working really well and you want to expand the reach of the campaign, then switch this over to accelerated. We're going to add in ad extensions later on, so don't worry about this for now. And you can adjust the campaign settings here if you want. So I'm going to leave this on all days and all times, but this is where you would be able to adjust the ad scheduling. You can also put a set end date on if you want. So if you were running, you know, a campaign for an event or a webinar, for example, then you might want to set an end date just before the event. Ad delivery, I generally set this to rotate indefinitely, because what we're going to do in the ad review process is we're going to review the ads that have the highest clicks and that have the highest conversions. I still prefer to do this myself. What you can do is you can select optimize for conversions, in which case what Google will do is they will show your ads more that generate the most conversions. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but what I find is that it becomes harder to split test your ads, because as Google optimize for conversions, different ads in your campaign don't really get the impressions that you need in order to really split test your ads. So my preference is still to rotate indefinitely and then do this yourself. But there's nothing wrong with using this option. And in some cases, you know, if you really it is plausible to use optimize for clicks. If I'm in a very competitive market and we need to find an ad where we can chisel our way in and get a higher click-through rate than our competitors, sometimes what I'll do is I'll set up a lot of ads. I'll set up 8 or 10 ads and select the ad rotation to be optimized for clicks. And then I'll set a calendar appointment to come back in a few weeks' time and just pick the winning ad as my control ad, and then switch this back to rotate indefinitely. So all of these settings do have a role depending on your objectives, but generally I would use rotate indefinitely. Keyword matching options, you can tell Google to either include plurals, misspellings, close variants. I generally leave it on this setting, but if you want, you know, strict control over your ad serving, then you can select do not include close variants. We're not generally going to use dynamic links. I don't think I've ever actually used that setting. And this is a more advanced setting. So if you have a big e-commerce site, for example, then you might want to have a go at using something called dynamic search ads. That's beyond the scope of this video. If you've got a big e-commerce site, then you might want to send me an email and we'll follow up on this. So that's basically the settings really. So let's go to save and continue. But I'm going to have to set up an ad group. So the ad groups will come out of your keyword research when we identified the broad buckets or groups of keywords in the keyword research process. So you need to go and review that if you don't still have it. So let's say, for example, that bows is one of our ad groups. And then I normally put a target cost per action on here if you do have a target cost per action. So cost per action is a cost per lead, for example, that you're willing to spend in ad spend to get a lead. So maybe we know that we can spend, I don't know, £25 to get an inquiry or a sale on bows. The reason I put that on is because it makes it a bit easier in the keyword management process when you're reviewing the keywords to see what is and isn't an acceptable cost per action, and then you can adjust your keyword bids depending on whether a keyword is converting above £25 or below £25. So that's why I normally add this in the ad group name. If you don't have a target cost per lead or a target cost per sale, then you can leave this off. Google also then wants you to create an ad. This doesn't matter for now. All we're going to do is set up a dummy ad, and we're going to replace this ad in a future video. But for now, just put in a dummy ad. So great, great long bows. Great long bows. Get yours here. www.yoursite.com. So just put in a dummy ad for now. It doesn't matter particularly because we're not going to actually run ads to here, but we need a dummy ad just to set up the campaign shell. We're not going to add any keywords. We're going to add in our keywords later on. And again, you can adjust the ad group bids. By default, this pulls in the campaign bid that we set in the previous step. So let's leave this as the default for now. Let's save the ad group. Okay, so that sets up our first campaign. So we can see in the left-hand tree structure that the campaign's been set up with our correct naming convention, and we've got one ad group, bows, again with the correct ad group naming convention. What you're going to do then is you're going to replicate this ad group for all of the ad groups that you need in this particular campaign. I find it easier to do this in AdWords Editor. So if you come into AdWords Editor, I'm going to go to Accounts, Get Full Accounts, go to OK. And what that will do is that will download the accounts that we've just created into AdWords Editor. Okay, so we can see it's here. It's the only active one. I think actually what I'm going to do, because I don't actually want to run any ads to my dummy ad, so let's just pause this campaign and post that change. So you want the campaign to be paused while you're still working on it. That actually wouldn't have run any ads because we haven't added any keywords yet, but you still want it to be paused for the time being. So if you select the campaign that you just created, if you come to ad groups, what we can do now is we can click in here and press Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and then paste it as many times as you need for the different ad groups that you identified from the keyword research process. So maybe you've got an ad group for arrows, and that's going to be maybe £15. One for accessories, maybe that's £5. £5 cost per lead, and maybe I don't know, quivers. Cost per lead of £10. It's giving us a warning saying our ad group contains no active targeting criteria. We haven't added any keywords yet, and we'll do that in the next video. So hopefully that made sense. If you've got any problems, please give me a shout.